Why not? Being honest is fun.
What are you talking about, Chosh?
I'm talking about the fact that you're a fucking narcissist. Seriously, I've never met anyone else who thinks their own life is so fucking fascinating. I wanted to fall asleep in my own vomit all day, listening to you talk about how you bruise more easily than other people.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, people have been calling me a narcissist since I was 3, so it doesn't really upset me. You gotta choose something more creative.
Yeah, it really has no effect on you.
Now you. So we're untabling our issues then.
I wanted to do this at dinner. Oh my god. Can you chill the fuck out about dinner? Seriously, that duck tasted like a used condom and I want to forget about it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We're just two boys watching HBO's Girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we are talking about Season 3, Episode 7. Overall, this is Episode 27. This episode is titled Beach House. It is directed by Jesse Peretz, written by Jenny Connor, Lena Dunham, and Judd Apatow. The original air date was February 16th, 2014, to an audience of 942,000 people, 0.942 million. That's a pretty sizable increase from the last episode, getting closer to that million.
Yeah, that's pretty good numbers.
Yeah. Initial reactions to this episode, Vance.
This was the episode I thought one of your friends had mentioned couldn't wait to hear our opinion on, and I was really expecting something in the vein of like Another Man's Trash or like anything in the end of season 2. And this episode's pretty solid standard fare for the show, I feel like.
Yeah, I was like dreading watching this because my friend was like, I can't wait till you watch Beach House. And then I went into it kind of like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of those expectations of thinking it was going to be super shitty that I didn't think it was that bad. But I didn't find it to be that bad.
No, I mean, it's
not the greatest episode.
I was waiting for something awful to happen, but I mean, we're 7 episodes into season 3, and it's been pretty solid. Thinking, this has been a pretty solid season.
I'm thinking season 3 is probably my favorite season. It's good.
I would have to go back and think about season 1 because there's some fun stuff in season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that this is probably my least favorite of season 3 so far, but this is nowhere near the nadir that was the end of season 2.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah. No, this is a fun one. I think we'll have fun talking about this one. It's not.
Yeah. So I feel like we can't do the character breakdown really. This is kind of like a whole ensemble piece.
Yeah, let's just go through it in order and just kind of bounce around and stick to what whatever. We're just gonna freeform this one.
Yeah, we're gonna free ball it. Mainly because Vance and I, before we started recording, we confessed to each other that we didn't take much notes.
Yeah, I was like in the episode, I'm like, I haven't really written anything down. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, I was like waiting for stuff to happen of significance, and then I was just like, I feel like I will remember that, but I probably won't. But we'll fill in the gaps for each other.
Never think that you're going to remember something. I was watching a movie this weekend, and I had an idea for a script idea that I was like, oh, maybe I'll play around with this. And I was like, I don't need to write it down. This idea is so good, I don't need it. And then the next day, I was like, crap, what is it?
Yeah.
And luckily, I was like on a video chat with some friends, and they brought up something, and then the idea like went back into my head, and I immediately wrote it down. But
dude, that happens with me with jokes all the time.
You have to write it down.
Vance, this is a world record. We haven't even started talking about this episode yet, and we're already off on a tangent. This is going to be bad. Buddy.
I don't know if this is a world record. We've done this multiple times.
Have we?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Do you not remember a butt plug episode? Where you started to type something into Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to tweet out if like men have ever used butt plugs on themselves.
Yeah.
All right.
There's been times.
All right. So let's get into it. So Marnie is the episode starts off with Marnie setting up I thought it was like a bed and breakfast, but it's not. It's her family friends are allowing her and the girls to chill out at their beach house, which is like a fucking massive, enormous mansion that's like looks like a castle for a second.
Yeah, it was it's really pretty nice. Like like when they cut to the wide shot of it and you see that it has this little like lighthouse tower thing in it. I was like,
Yeah.
that is a nice massive house.
Right?
And I thought Rita Wilson was going to be there too. I didn't know if it was just going to be the 4 girls, because we see Marnie, she's putting out name cards in each room, which I thought was amazing that she even had one with her name on it. Marnie's so A-type.
I know.
Yeah.
And the writing on it was beautiful. She's putting flowers on in each of the rooms and like the name tags. And she's like, this is going to be the perfect weekend. She goes out onto the porch and she looks out over the horizon. And then that's when you get that wide shot of the palatial estate that she is fucking... Dude, that place is huge.
Yeah.
It legit
nice.
looked like a castle with that lighthouse, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was so wild to me. So she is then going over to the bus station to meet the girls who are coming to stay at her place. Well, not her place, but the beach house for the weekend. And they all come off the bus. And Hannah's got this gigantic floppy fucking like Kentucky Derby hat on and a jumpsuit. And it doesn't match at all. And it pissed me off. But she comes out and she's like, oh my God, hey. Shoshanna comes out. Shoshanna makes some kind of comment about like, this is so cool. I've never really been to the Hamptons. And then Marty makes a comment about like, well, this isn't necessarily the Hamptons. This is Northport. This is for the people that think the Hamptons are tacky and bullshit. And that's what kind of person Marnie is. And they're like, well, where's Jessa? Did Jessa just not even come? And which would be not surprising.
Yeah. I was kind of excited. I was like, this would be amazing if she just didn't show up. Because then it's because she wasn't in a lot of the end of season 2. So I was like, oh, is this the part where we just have Jessa being like, just not around anymore?
I was like, how could this... Because I kept thinking like this episode is going to be horrible. And then I was like, how could this episode be horrible if Jessa's not in it? But then I remembered the end of season 2.
Well, then it's like, oh no, Jessa just sat on the back of the bus for political reasons or whatever. You're like, oh, Jessa.
Yeah, eye roll.
Yeah.
Like my eyes fell out of my fucking face with that bullshit. But she comes out and she's talking to like an old couple and she's like, well, let me know when you're in town. I'd love to like talk with you and like, let's hang out and blah, blah, blah. And then she walks over to Marnie and she's like, is it cool that I invited... I forget the old people's names, but she's like, is it cool that I invited these 2 geezers to hang out with us? And Marnie was like, no, not really. I thought it was just going to be kind of a trip with the 4 of us and we're going to be hanging out. And Marnie and Jessa's like, well, I just invited them. They're definitely not going to come over anyway.
Yeah, she's like, Marnie's like, I'm not sure if I want to invite bus people to this house that my mom's friends are letting us use.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thought.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, before she said bus people, I had written Jessa invites old bus people to hang.
The thing that I thought was interesting was that they actually invited Shoshanna.
Right?
Like, I don't know when the crossovers happen, because a lot of the times they just wouldn't invite her places, and which she kind of brings up in the end of this episode. But
it's like that she doesn't exist to the rest of the girls pretty much.
Yeah.
So that it was weird. I don't know, but like I just don't understand the level of friendship between these girls, because it's obvious that Shoshanna's just like a secondary person in their friendship, but like Marnie and Jess's friendship makes no sense to me. Like some of their dynamics just are weird and I don't get them.
I'll say part, like, I mean, we're not spoiling anything because this podcast on the show, but I'll say like to jump towards the end, I kind of wanted them to have the dinner and airing of the grievances that Marnie wanted, because I wanted to see that like play out and just hear them all like say the stuff, and we kind of get a bit of it, but it comes out as more of it's not as structured as Marnie wanted it to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't blame people for not wanting to do that either.
Yeah, who would ever fucking want to do that?
That seems like a daytime thing too, not a nighttime drunk thing.
That seems like a thing you do on daytime TV. Fucking.
If you're gonna do
not
that
in real life.
if you're gonna do that and you're at a house, I would say do that like midday when you're like kind of soberish, and then like let the moment steam down, and then go hang out and drink, and then I don't know. Don't get drunk at dinner. Just seems like don't go to bed angry. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess Marnie wasn't anticipating them getting drunk for the healing kind of thing, but that's kind of what happens later on, and fireworks.
Yeah.
So anyway, then there's like a montage of them having fun in the pool, and they're like all, splashing around. Harmless girls montage stuff. Then Marnie's in the beach and the water, and she's trying to get the girls to come into the water, and nobody wants to come. And then they're like, well, all right, well, let's all hang out. Let's go inside and do something. And Marnie like lays out this entire plan for the entire day of like, well, we can't do that because I have this to happen. This needs to happen. And then this needs to happen. And then after that, we're doing this. And the one thing was like, that healing dinner that she wanted to have. Mm-hmm. Then she was like, we're going to write all of our hopes and dreams onto pieces of paper and then throw them into a fire to make them come true. And I was like, what the fuck? This is some bullshit.
I feel like I watched something recently where they did that.
That's so dumb.
It's
Well, maybe it's like Coco. Isn't that the thing where they like put something in a lantern and it flies up in the air?
Those air lantern things? No.
Yeah.
No, something different where you write. It's something different where you write down an idea, throw it into like a pot, and then you burn it. And it's like, it's basically the same as making one of those, what are those dream boards?
A vision board?
Vision board, yeah. It's the same. I guess it's the same thing, except for you get to see your vision board.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think the concept of the vision board is like more, I think it's better because like what I do, I'm like really into New Year's resolutions, and I write down all of my New Year's resolutions on a whiteboard that I have hung up in my room, and I have to look at it every day to remind me like, I'm trying to achieve these goals. So that's what I think happens with a vision board.
Yeah.
But I don't think if you just like write a wish down and burn it, you could forget about that.
Well, writing stuff down, like we were talking about earlier, is how you just the act of writing it down will make you remember it. So
exactly, which is something we didn't do about this episode. So anyway, after Marnie reveals her whole plan of like everything that they're going to be doing throughout the day, she's like, but first we need to go grocery shopping. Mm-hmm. And so the girls go into the town, and Hannah refuses to put on real clothes. Marnie's like, I feel like you should probably wear like pants and a shirt and stuff if we're going to go shopping. And Hannah's like, no, this is a beach town. Like, they get it. Yeah. That, we're going to be in our swimsuits.
And she's in a two-piece, like, green, like, almost neon green bikini. And, like, they're biking to the grocery store. And once she was like, oh, first we have to go shopping, I was like, this is going to be awesome. Like, I thought something. Because I'm still at that point where I'm thinking something crazy and weird is going to happen. So I'm like, okay, what is going to happen when you send these girls grocery shopping? Because going grocery shopping on like a beach trip is a whole thing,
Oh, yeah. Marnie has a whole list of things that she needs to get for this trip. Mm-hmm. So Hannah is just riding through the city in her bikini. Everybody else has clothes on. And she's turned away from the grocery store because she doesn't have shoes, and they have like a no shoes, no service thing. And Hannah's kind of like, this is bullshit. This is dumb. Yeah. And then she asks Shoshanna. Well, no, first Marnie's like, can I have your money so that we can, like, your portion of the money that we're
no, she asked for a list.
This? Oh, the list.
Yeah.
Okay. And Hannah pulls it literally out of her ass.
It's definitely in the bikini strap, but but Marnie goes, where did you pull this? Where did this come from? And she's like, my pocket.
Yeah, my back pocket.
There's no pockets on that, as we will clearly see. in a later shot.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Shoshanna comes out and she's like, "You sure you don't want to come in? I can let you have one of my shoes."
Yeah.
Stupid.
No, you can't hear this, but I like shrug my shoulders like, what was that?
And so Hannah's like, "No, but could you get me some white cheddar goldfish?" And Shoshanna's like, "I don't think that we're allowed to do that because it's not on Marnie's list." And Hannah's just like, "Ugh."
Wait, so was the list that Hannah had Marnie's list that she pulled out, or was it Hannah's list?
I think it was Marnie's list, but I don't know why Marnie.
Why would Hannah be holding Marnie's list? I thought it was Hannah's list for food or something.
Huh. I don't know. Maybe to have that gag of pulling it out of her butt.
I guess. Because I was like, oh, if this is Hannah's list, wouldn't she have white cheddar goldfish on it?
But also, like, who is that much of a Nazi about what you can get at a grocery store?
All right, I got a fun... All right, we're already going to story time.
Let's do it.
So I went to Italy with a friend of mine after high school, and he had studied abroad there. So we ended up going there, and that family that we're staying with, the girl had just graduated high school, and graduating high school in Italy or in Europe, in Italy specifically, I know, is like you have to take a test that encompasses all 4 years of high school, not just
shit.
Yeah, like, so it's a big deal. Like, she was studying and like cramming, and she had just graduated. She had just finished passing the test, and we were going to their like Olive Grove beach house that they had, and we had 2 other friends from high school that were doing the Eurorail across Europe, and they just happened to be meeting up with us in Italy at the time. So all of us went to their beach house with a couple of their Italian friends. It was a fun time, but I remember going to the grocery store with them. I didn't speak Italian, but they spoke enough of them spoke English. So like we go to the grocery store, and I had just come from. Before I went there, I was in Ocean City, Maryland for senior week. So which is a whole different vibe in general. So we're there, and I go to the store, and I'm like, hey, let's get some chips. Let's get some like crappy. I'm just thinking, let's get all this like random junk food and like other stuff that you're gonna need when you're drunk and having the munchies and stuff. And they're just like shopping for real food. Like they made like a 6-course meal. Like that's how they do it. Like it's not just like we're gonna get some hot dogs and frozen burgers and throw them on a grill and call it a day. So like I managed. My one friend was like, "Get us something," and I managed to just get a thing of Pringles, which they looked at me like, "What are you doing? Who buys this crap?" Like that was the only thing I could like manage to like convince them to get. And I was like, my buddy who speaks Italian, who knew these people, I'm like, "You should have gone." Like I shouldn't have gone with this. So yeah, I know how that grocery thing could be, and I was thinking we were gonna have an interesting her in the store and them fighting over what to get kind of thing. But no.
Yeah, I mean, going grocery shopping, especially when you go to Ocean City, Maryland for senior week, it's just like Doritos, like 6 bags of Doritos, maybe a watermelon, and then like that's it. Yeah. That's your whole diet.
Yeah, it was and there we were like we're in Italy, and they're just like, oh, here's the enchilada, and here's this. And I'm like, geez, they actually cooked. Like, it was much more peaceful, like having a shot of limoncello after dinner. Like it was not chugging beers.
Dude, when I went to senior week twice. I went once for my senior week, and then I went the year after because one of my best friends was graduating after that. And so the second time I went, it was me, my friend that had just graduated, and a couple other guys that we all like hung out with. And one of the guys that we were hanging out with named Brian, he invited one of his college friends to come, and he was the only person that knew this guy. And so we were all like, what's this guy's deal? Like, what are we gonna... And he was the last to arrive. So I remember being like, wouldn't it be funny if we all just like iced this guy out and we're just like total dicks to him?
No. Oh no, Joe. You're already like a year out already. You shouldn't even be there.
So they were like, they were like laughing and going along with it like as a joke, right? And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if like just in the middle of the night we like took a shit on his face and just started calling him shit lips?
Wait, like right? Literally taking a shit?
Yeah, but this is like a hypothetical situation where I was like, wouldn't it be hilarious if we like took a crap on this guy's face? So then everybody was laughing about that. And
is that when you knew you wanted to be a comedian?
For some reason, the name Shit Lips, like I just kept saying Shit Lips, and then so when this guy arrived, I just started calling him Shit Lips, and then everybody started calling him Shit Lips, and he had no idea what was going on. He was like, "Why is everybody calling me Shit Lips?" And then by the end of senior week, he was like introducing himself to people as Shit Lips.
What?
Yeah, he like just embraced it. Was like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Shit Lips."
God,
I was like,
that might be the whitest thing I've ever heard. Why? That at first I was like, man, Joe, that's the cruel story. And then he's like, I embraced it.
yeah, I honestly don't remember what that guy's name is. Because he was just like, yeah, what's up? I'm Shit Lips. And like whole swaths of people just know him as Shit Lips.
Why would you embrace that?
I don't know, man. He was a weird guy. But anyway, fucking
dude, let's get back to this episode.
Tangent City's got 2 mayors right now, baby.
Yeah.
So they're grocery shopping. Hannah's not allowed in, so she just starts walking around the downtown area, and she's like leaning in, looking through a window in a store, and you know her fucking bikini is like up her ass.
Like it's
a very cheeky bottom.
Yeah, you're seeing everything. Like she might as well be. I mean, it's a bikini, it's fine, but like she's like, no one else is dressed like this. Everyone else has a wrap on. They have like flip flops or shoes or something, and she's just like, nope. I
mean, even the other girls, like swimsuits aren't that revealing. But I guess that's just Hannah's character, and she's always naked and shit. Mm-hmm. So she's leaning over, looking through a window or something, and she hears she hears a couple of voices like making fun of her and making fun of her bikini. Mm-hmm. And she like stands up and turns around, and who is it that is making fun of her but our old friend Elijah?
Yeah. Your favorite and my favorite from the beginning of season 2.
Yes,
definitely.
The return of Andrew Rannells, reprising his role as Elijah, and he is there with a gaggle of gay men, and they're just hanging out in the Hamptons, and Hannah's like, "What the fuck? Why are you here? This is terrible." And he's like, "We're all here just like staying at a beach house. What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I'm staying at a beach house, trying to make memories with my best friends that'll last a lifetime. And now you're here and it's going to be terrible." And so she's like, "I heard you guys making fun of me." And Elijah's like, "No, we weren't making fun of you." And then they kind of were like still to her face. Yeah. So
the thing that was interesting here is how upset she still is at Elijah. Yeah, because I was like, wow, she's still harboring this anger towards him. And
hey, man, you know what they say about chicks and holding grudges, bro.
Like I thought she'd have been well past it. I like forgot that was a thing.
I forgot why she was mad at him too. But so Elijah tells the rest of his friends to like kind of like give him a second with Hannah, and then he's like, "Hey, you know what? I feel really bad about what happened between us, and I feel sorry, and like I just wanted to apologize." And Hannah's like, "You know what? I really missed you too." And then he's basically saying like all this stuff about like whenever I see something, I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder what she's eating. I wonder if she's mad at someone right now." And Hannah reveals like, "Yeah, whenever I see something that totally sucks and like no one understands, I know that you would understand, and I miss you and I love you." And they hug it out. Yeah. And it's a nice moment.
You know what it felt like? It felt like when they picked Jessa up from rehab, you know?
Yes, that's exactly what it felt
whereas like Hannah's going to be upset and she's going to try to voice it. And then all of a sudden she'll be like, I don't care. Like that's,
and then she immediately forgives them.
Because I don't feel like she holds grudges. You know, like that. Like she holds a grudge, but she can't hold a grudge if you're having a conversation about the grudge.
She can't hold a grudge once that person has like blown smoke up her ass a little bit.
Once it's engaged. Like no, because Jessa, when she forgave Jessa for picking her up from rehab, Jessa never says anything.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, she just like talked herself down.
Yeah. You know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
But so Elijah is talking about, so who are you all here with? She's like, Marnie and everything. He's like, ugh, I bet Marnie's here being a really bossy bitch about everything and trying to schedule everything out. And Hannah's like, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, I'm sure that seems like a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So then Hannah has the bright idea, like, why don't you come and hang out at our beach house? Because Elijah was complaining that their beach house was a little too far away from everything. And then he's like, really? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. It'll be super fun. And he's like, all right, sure. So she invites the group of gay men to Marnie's house. And this is where I get a little lost in terms of the order of things.
They're all hanging out. They're sitting on Hannah's sitting on the couch with Elijah, and they're talking about stuff. I don't remember exactly what their conversation was, but they've kind of reverted back to when they were roommates and like.
Yeah, they're just like
fun.
bonding and talking shit and, you know, typical stuff. And each of the gay dudes is assigned to one of the girls, it looks like.
Yeah, except for Marnie. Except for Marnie. Yeah. Because Pal, which is the boyfriend of
Elijah's new boyfriend.
He's making up a new drink and Shoshanna's watching.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gerald, who's the black guy, and Paul and Jessa are all like at the pool, and then Marnie comes out and she asks Hannah if she'll check her for ticks because she wants to have a talk with her.
Which is the least veiled lie.
Yeah.
And like Marnie comes out, she's like, hey Hannah, can you come in the other room with me really quick and check me for ticks? I really need to I need to be with you in private.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? Check you for ticks? And Marnie's like, yeah, I was rummaging around outside and I think I might have gotten a tick. So could you please come to the other room with me? And Hannah's just like, okay, I know that this is not about, like, everyone that heard that sentence is like, this is not about ticks.
Yeah.
So she goes in the other room with her, and Marnie's basically pissed that she invited Elijah and his group of friends to the beach house because she wanted it to be a time for healing and it wanted it to be super fun for all of the girls. And Hannah's just kind of like, dude, it's not a big deal. Like, it's going to be a good time anyway. Like, we're going to have healing. There'll be time for healing, but let's just have fun.
Well, Hannah tries to lie and say that she didn't want to invite them, but they basically invited themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I you can see that Marnie sees right through that lie. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, really? Did they?
Yeah, like, because there's no way Elijah's like, oh, I got to go hang out with Marnie and all of them.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
But Hannah basically doesn't want to have this talk that they're supposed to be having. Like, the fact that Marnie decided, oh, the best thing we should do is to go to this awesome vacation house and then have the talk there. Instead of having the talk, settling it, and then going to celebrate settling the talk at the house. Yes. That's the way the house should be. Like, you should be going here to have fun.
That would be a much better strategy.
Yeah. Like, if things are going to get ugly, it might as well get ugly in New York and, like, in the city.
Don't spend money coming to a beach house and shit.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway... yeah. So then they're all hanging out in the pool and like drinking, and it's a good time, and everybody's having a blast. And Elijah comes, like, you know, they're just, everybody's by the pool having a good time, and then Elijah walks inside to talk to Marnie, and he's basically apologizing for everything that happened. He's like, look, I'm really sorry for how things turned out. And she's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, no, I don't think you realize, like, I'm actually, like, very sorry, and I regret that it happened, and I just want things to be cool between us, and I really want to be friends. And Marnie's like, you know what? Okay, yeah, that's true. I get that. And then Elijah says he's been taking Kabbalah classes, which is like some kind of spiritual Jewish thing, I think.
Well, he said that, like, he talked about his relationship with Pal and that he loves him, but he hasn't told him yet, and that he's been having him take Kabbalah class, and he feels comfortable with them and all this stuff, and which
trying to be less negative,
which I thought was really, I thought two things in this conversation were gonna, like, push Marnie over the edge. One, his apology of, like, I wish it never happened, which I thought she was gonna take.
Yeah, me too.
I thought she was gonna
be like, wow, what the fuck?
Like, yeah, I thought she was gonna be like, oh, I guess. Yeah, I thought she was gonna take it super personally that think that they should have hooked up, the two of them. And then I thought when she's like, oh, I'm in love with this other person, that would even drive her even more crazy. Because later at some point, I think she's talking to Hannah and she's like, I can't believe Pal is the person that came after me, you know?
Yeah. It does kind of eat at her, it seems like, but
it never...
It doesn't blow up.
Yeah, it never blows up at him from her, you know?
Yeah. So then they have a look at what's going on by the pool, and they're playing Shots, that song Shots. Shots. And Hannah's like, I fucking love this song. And she's dancing, and she's got like liquor, and she's pouring liquor all over herself.
Yeah, as the one person that drinks on this podcast, I was like, is she just pouring a whole bottle of vodka on herself? Or is that like a water bottle? Like, I was like, that's such a waste of alcohol.
That's what I was going to say. As a person that doesn't drink but appreciates not wasting money, what a humongous waste of money.
And I love that they have the reaction shot of Elijah and Marnie looking. And Elijah's like, oh, she's just so free and happy right now. And Marnie's like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, Marnie's like, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
It's like the epitome of those two characters, like right there.
Yeah, man. So then, is it the scene where Hannah's talking to Pal?
When does she talk to Pal? What does she talk to Pal about?
Yeah, we're going to get lost at this point because I'm a little fuzzy on what goes on.
Yeah, I didn't keep any track of the order. Well, let's just talk about that scene then.
Yeah, okay. So Hannah's talking to Pal, Elijah's boyfriend, and like they're getting along pretty well. And she's like, hey, I'm really happy that Elijah. I'm really happy that Elijah found somebody like you, and he seems really happy, and you guys seem really good for each other. And he's like, you know what? That's awesome. I'm really glad to know you. You remind me of this person that I really like, Sadie. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, Sadie's always like so like into trying new things and experimenting with life, and she's such a free spirit. And Hannah's like, okay, all right. And she's like, and then Pal is like, hey, Elijah, doesn't Hannah remind you of crazy Sadie? Isn't that girl crazy as shit? And Elijah's like, Sadie's fat as shit. And then he just walks away.
Yeah.
And you can just feel the devastation in Hannah's.
Well, Hannah starts to kind of cover up a little bit in embarrassment there. And I will say this is like the first, I mean, not the first time in the series, but it happens twice in this episode where her like weight and figure is like brought up. And it's normally not, it's normally like she'll make jokes about herself, but it's never an external source making a joke about her. Like we don't get a lot of guys being like, oh, she's gross, she's overweight, or like I don't like her body or anything. Like that doesn't happen a lot. It's not like that's not the main focus of the show, and it's not something that happens like it's something that she focuses on, so she will bring it up in scenes and stuff. But this episode they really bring it with the guy, and it's interesting that the guys that are judging her are these all gay guys. Like it's not
I have a joke about that in my act. That's like, gay dudes are super sassy, and it's like we all know a gay guy that can say some just like fucking really mean shit to you, and someone were like, oh, isn't he so sassy? It's like, no, dude, that guy hurt my fucking feelings. That's like really mean.
Yeah, they get that like pass because they're not sexualizing her.
Yeah,
but it's also just being super hurtful. Yeah,
it's so mean. And then, but like after he says that she's fat as shit, Pal is like, well, I mean, you're skinnier than her. Like, don't worry about it. It's like, oh, okay, I feel great now.
You just
all right. Now that you said that I'm skinny, what's her nickname again? Crazy Sadie.
Yeah, I remind you of someone that you only define as crazy and fat.
Yes. Yeah.
But
meanwhile, Hannah's been wearing this green bikini the entire episode.
Yeah. Hey, she's at a beach house. She's letting loose.
Yeah.
She's away from the GQ job.
I think the next scene is Marnie talking to Elijah about how Charlie dumped her. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right, sure.
So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
This podcast is going down the shit.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You guys know if you watch the episode, you don't know the order either.
Yeah,
so
and if you
fuck
didn't
off.
watch it, you can't even question it.
Yeah, you know
This is what
You
happened
rule.
next. This is what happens next.
Yeah, this podcast is very accurate. So what happens next is Elijah is talking to Marnie, and Marnie's explaining how Charlie dumped her, and she said, "I don't remember the exact conversation.
Oh, I was hoping you remembered the beginning. I really
don't remember the beginning.
I really caught the end. It was.
I
Something...
remember this is what I remember
Okay.
is that she was on the phone with Charlie, and he said that he loved her and wanted to propose to her, and then she went back to their apartment, and somebody from his work was there with him, and he was like moving all of the stuff of Charlie's out of their apartment. And then Charlie showed up at the last second and told her, "I don't love you and I never loved you."
Yeah. What I had missed a bit was the part that you brought up, was the marriage proposal part in the beginning. Because I was like, wait, I was like, who said that? Because the end of it is, he said he never loved her and left. And like had a friend come over. He says he doesn't love her and he never loves her, and he leaves. And it was like when they were making pizza, which she alludes to in a previous episode, that he just came in, they were making pizza together, and he left. Yeah. But we didn't know anything about the proposal thing. And I didn't. Yeah. I wasn't sure if she was saying that she was going to propose or that he wanted, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still a little fuzzy on the details of this
somehow
breakup.
There was a proposal in the air somehow.
Yeah.
And then
it didn't happen, and he dumped her and told her that he never loved her.
Yeah. And then Elijah ends up saying, kind of maybe planting a seed that Charlie's gay, which is a big one. Well, first off, it's interesting that this is how we find out from this about Marnie. Like, it's just all here. It's just all her telling us this character thing. And I don't know if the actor was unavailable, if they didn't plan on filming it. I don't know exactly the production logistics. But
maybe he was pregnant and
he was pregnant. And he just
couldn't make it to set,
He's on that the paternity leave.
Paternity leave.
Yeah. But no, so we just hear about this breakup, which you would think you would want to see. If you built up all of the end of season 2 to them getting back together, you would want to see the breakup of it.
Yeah, we're 7 episodes into season 3 too, and this is the first actual details we get about the breakup.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, okay, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I trust her.
I don't trust Marnie's take on that.
Yeah. So Elijah says something like, "That's so crazy, I didn't even know." And then Marnie says something like, "Well, how could you not know? Like, weren't you guys really close in college?" And that's the first of I'm hearing about that.
Oh, well, she also mentions that his business went under.
Yes.
She mentions that his business went under and that he's
working as a carpenter's apprentice or something.
Yeah. Has a crappy apartment or something. Like, we just get his whole life story in this thing.
Yes.
Which is I kind of need to see this if we could. But I don't know the logistics.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, this is just the quickest way to write off someone. Listen, you're not going to see this guy again.
This seems like
his business went under.
It seems like a whole episode was just told in this one scene.
Yeah,
that's a whole episode arc. I want to see Charlie's business go under, but yeah.
So at that point is when Elijah's like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know any of that." And Marnie's like, "Oh, weren't you close in college?" And I guess that they were, because thinking back to that episode where they had the safe sex disco or whatever, wasn't it Elijah that introduces Charlie to Marnie?
Yeah.
Because
Elijah's dating Hannah. So then he's like, "Hey, Charlie, talk to Marnie, who's on drugs and tripping or something at that point."
Well, I thought that Charlie was just a stranger, and he goes up to him and he's like, "Hey, what's your name, Charlie? Okay, here, talk to this girl."
But I guess
that's what I thought.
But I guess they would have become wait, because Ray's his buddy, because he's not. Yeah, Elijah shows up out of nowhere in the first season.
Yeah.
But whatever, they just throwing backstory in.
Yeah, Marnie says that they were close, and then Elijah was like, no, we weren't that close. I thought that he was gay, and I was trying to hook up with him, and then he started dating you, and I was like, oh, fuck, well, I guess that he's not gay.
No, he's like, I guess his problems are more than just that.
Oh,
His
yeah,
issues
that's
are more than
true.
just that. And then, like, Marnie has that moment where it's all, like, sinking in a little bit, and then she gets called
Basically,
away
Elijah's...
or something.
Yeah. No, because Elijah says something to her, or the one other guy says something to her about Charlie, and then it's like one of those things where she's like, oh, I think I need to go into the kitchen and take care of something, but I don't remember what it was.
Was she like, I need to go get dinner prepared, probably? I don't know.
Maybe.
I forget exactly how the scene ends, but there is like a little seed planted that Charlie might have been a closeted gay man.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't necessarily track. I mean, I am not the one to talk about like how someone would stay closeted and what they would do to remain that way. But
yeah,
it seems like
we've seen Charlie in 2 separate relationships with women.
Yeah.
But also Elijah was in a relationship with Hannah. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Like,
we can't say, oh, he wouldn't have done this, but it seems like a little. If it goes that way, it seems like a bit of a retcon, you know.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
Yeah.
So then Marnie goes away into the kitchen, and Elijah says something to the other guy, who I can't remember his name.
Which
the other white gay guy that's not Paul. Paul.
Yeah.
So he says to Paul, he's like, I fucked her one time.
Oh yeah, because Paul comes out and sits down.
Yeah.
Oh, because we're forgetting the big thing. She starts saying, "Oh, I was talking to Ray," and
that's what it was. That's what it was. That's what makes her go. Yeah. So she's like, I was talking to Ray about the whole breakup, and this is what he thinks. And then Elijah's like, "Who's Ray?" And she's like, "Ray, whatever his last name, Shavitsky or whatever. I forget what his name is." And he's like, "Old man Ray? Yeah. Why are you hanging out with Ray? When did you start hanging out with him?" And then she kind of looks dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I think I need to go into the kitchen. Yeah. And then so she goes into the kitchen. Paul says, oh, those two are definitely fucking, Paul and Ray and Marnie. And then Elijah says, I fucked her once. And that's where it is. Vance, fucking MVP of this episode, remembering that. Because I completely forgot about that. And I have it written down. I just wasn't looking at my notes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Old man Ray is written in my notes. Elijah knows she's fucking him.
Yes.
And I love the way Elijah says, I fucked her.
Yeah.
Like, about Marnie. Like, he just says it all, like, smirky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also, again, back to our debate back in the day, I don't think he even really fucked her. I think that they had intercourse, but I would never be like, I fucked that girl if I had like 2 pumps in, That's a stretch.
If you wanted to accentuate the situation for a punch at the end of the scene, you have to say it that way. Otherwise, the scene is like, kind of like.
I know, Vance. I know. I get that it's a script writing thing, but I stand by firmly that they did not fuck. They had weird 2 pumps of intercourse.
Yeah.
If you did Elijah,
tomato, I'm not rehashing.
Vance,
you can go back to the episode. I've already made my statements on this.
Vance, we're reopening this case. This cold case is reopened, Vance. If you did what Elijah did to Marnie, would you say that you fucked that woman?
No, I would just use the term hookup, which is the vague. I told you I would just use the vagaries of hookup.
Did I explain my?
No, then we got in a long debate about hookups. It's okay. Yeah, you got to go to the archives. Episode.
I don't even know what episode that is.
Was that season 2? Early season 2.
Yeah, it was early season 2, back before season 2 got shitty.
Episode 2 or 3 of season 2. Yeah, if you want to hear more on this debate.
Yes, this debate rages on, but we will not We will not be doing this. Sorry, everybody. So anyway, then is it Marnie and Hannah bonding in the bedroom?
I think so, yeah.
That's basically all that happens. They bond in the bedroom. Marnie's like, oh, this was a weekend of healing. And Hannah says something like, I was really dreading coming to this. Like, this is the last place I wanted to be. I did not want to hang out with anybody. But now that we're here, I'm really loving it. And I love you. And I'm so glad that we're friends. And Marnie's like, I love you too. And then they hug.
Well, Marnie talks about, I have abandonment issues because of my dad. And then like Hannah's like, I have the opposite because my parents were so all around me. So I just wanted to isolate when I got away from them.
Yeah.
And then they just start bonding over stuff like that. I don't know if I have anything in my notes.
I just wrote that Marnie says she has abandonment issues and they bond and basically what you just said.
Now, does this happen before or after they do the first bit of choreography for this dancing?
I feel like this is before because they call them in to do the choreography, I think.
Well, they do the choreography twice.
Yes.
I guess the first time is coming up right now. And they because the guy Gerald is like a Broadway choreographer or something. Or a choreographer of some sorts. This
is the correct order because Marnie says something about like she kind of wanted it to be just the four of them, and then Hannah says like lists all of their credentials as to like why they're awesome and like why Marnie would like them.
Yeah, and then they end up we see them in the living room, kind of going through the rehearsal of this choreography they kind of put together, and it's really clunky at this point.
Yeah, it looks real stupid.
And I thought this was going to be the last we saw of it, and I went like, worst dance choreography ever. And then later, it comes back. But yeah, they're just kind of like doing these like twists and moves, and people are falling over, and it's super silly.
Yeah. So then they do the dance, and
I think the next thing is like nighttime, and they're all in the pool hanging out.
That's what I think as well. Hannah's on Elijah's back and he's swimming. Jessa's swimming naked, I think. And then
they're all they're pretty much everyone's skinny dipping except for Hannah for some reason.
Yeah.
I think they fat shamed her into not going all in.
Maybe because everybody is naked there. And so Elijah and Hannah swim away, and then there's this
this is what happens. Pal says, he's like making fun of Elijah, and he's like, Elijah thought inertia meant moving fast, making fun of him for like not knowing what inertia means, And then like Hannah and Elijah swim away, and she's like, I think that's what it means too. Like she says that's what it means, but that is not what inertia means. There's no reason why it comes up, but it's just one of those things where, because I think throughout the episode, Pal has been like a little snidey at saying things about Elijah, but he says it about everybody. I think he's just like, that's just
he's just
character.
a sassy gay guy.
Yeah.
Like every stereotypical gay guy in TV history.
So so Hannah says, I don't like the way he talks to you and all this stuff. And
she says that to Elijah, and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, she says something about like, he's really condescending to you and he's kind of rude. And Elijah's like, I don't know. I love him and like he's a great guy. And then Hannah's like, I suggest that you like talk to him and like be like, hey, maybe you should have like a bit more respect for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where that ends, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, I guess I should. And he doesn't really want to. I guess I haven't even thought about this, but there's some irony in like Hannah telling Elijah to talk to the person to like set things, but then Marnie comes and says, hey, I want to have dinner so that we can talk, and Hannah doesn't want to do that. So Hannah's giving the advice that she won't take herself in a way.
Before that happens though, there's this incredibly fucking weird moment that I don't know how to feel about.
Oh, yeah.
Where Jessa swims up behind Paul and she like, it seems like she's like caressing him and trying to hook up with him or something.
Yeah, it's very flirtatious.
And she's like,
and he does
hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey. And she's like, it's just me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's like really creepy.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? There's another Jessa thing that we skipped over since we're not doing the characters. Because that one was weird. And one of those things where I'm like, oh, what is going to happen? Like, I'm like, this guy's obviously gay. He's not going to hook up with Jessa unless he's bisexual, which Elijah claims he's bisexual.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Jessa wants Hannah to drink and uses her AA as like, hey, you got to drink this or else you don't want me to do it because I'll go like,
yeah, somebody needs to drink this or I'm, and it's going to either be me or you. And then she starts being like, uh-oh, here it comes. I'm going to relapse. I'm going to relapse. I'm going to relapse. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I was just like, wait, is she like, her rehab wasn't about drinking. Remember when she was married to that dude and like she would drink wine?
Thomas John.
Yeah, she would drink wine at dinner and the dad's like, oh, I see you're fine now. And she's like, oh, it wasn't rehab for drinking. It was for like
it was heroin.
Yeah. So now it's like, oh, well, now I'm going to relapse if I have this drink and I'm going to force Hannah to drink it. And
it's so weird. Jessa's shit this episode is very weird.
And it was like, was that supposed to be like funny?
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know what to feel about the sneaking up on the gay guy. And then she's like, you look like this person that was photographed by blah, blah, blah. And then Paul's like, is that supposed to mean something to me? Yeah. Like, she's being real creepy and like predatory.
I feel like there's some scenes that have been cut out of
maybe
this episode. Because there's a scene later where Gerald says to Paul that I just don't think you're that talented. And it's like shot through the doorway. And Paul's like, what are you talking about? I went to school for blah, 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 for like whatever, dance or whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, and it just and it just like hangs there. It's like never was brought up and is never settled. And it just seems like, why is it there?
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of how I felt about this moment between Jessa and Paul. Well, where I was like, where did that come from and where's that going? And they never addressed it.
Yeah, especially when she wakes up in the bed the next morning and you're like, is it going to be that classic trope where she rolls over and he's behind her or something? And it's not.
That's exactly what I was waiting for.
So when that didn't happen, I was like, then what the heck was that scene for?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like some stuff like got cut. Like, I feel like scenes or something got cut out of this that.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Because the Gerald and Paul thing didn't make any sense because it set up a conflict with no setup to it. It was the middle of a conflict that had no setup or payoff to.
Yeah. But so that's when this is when Hannah and
Marnie
Elijah are kind of bonding, and then Marnie comes out and she's like, "It's time for dinner."
Well, she calls Hannah. She doesn't say it to everyone. She calls Hannah over, and Hannah gets out of the pool, and she's like, "Hey, it's time for dinner," and she just wants to have dinner. It seems like not with the other girls. It just seems like with.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but she had mentioned earlier that she was making a meal for 4 people. She bought enough food and a recipe that was for 4. She says this when she's talking to Elijah, I believe. And then Hannah gets out of the pool. Marnie's talking to her and saying, "Hey, let's have this conversation." She's like, and Hannah's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, everyone's having fun out here. Like, it'll be really rude if we just disappear and go inside." And like, she doesn't really want to do it either. Yeah. And then Hannah does such a jerk move here and says, turns back to the pool and says, "Dinner, everyone," And
and Marnie looks like, "You fucking bitch."
So then everyone is inside having dinner. And it's a 4-person meal split up to 8 people. So
between 8 people.
So it's tiny portions.
And Elijah makes it known. Elijah's sitting right next to Marnie. And he's like, "What the fuck is this? A kid's meal? Who the fuck's going to be able to eat this?" Mm-hmm. And then everyone's laughing. And Marnie's like, "Well, I thought it was going to be only a dinner for 4. And now all of you guys are here."
Yeah.
And Marnie's like really not taking this well. Because Elijah keeps trashing her.
I mean, he's sitting right next to her. And he is ripping this meal apart.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm like, now I'm on the side of Pal. at this point because Elijah's just being a biggest jerk as anybody at this moment.
Yeah, what happened to his Kabbalah class where he's trying to not be so negative?
And he's also like, oh, if things going poorly for you, this is all you could afford, basically, about this?
Yeah.
You guys are in her massive house that she's like, you're staying in this massive house that she's allowing you to stay in, and you're ripping her for like this meal she's made that wasn't big enough. And like, I mean, Elijah's going off as if like
he's going in, dude.
Yeah, to a point where I'm like, dude, I thought we were supposed to have this whole thing where like Pal is being mean to you, but you're like, you guys are perfect for each other because you're such an ass too.
So then they see that Marnie's getting kind of upset, and he's like, no, it's fine. Like the duck is great. The duck it's delicious. Marnie, thank you for doing this. This is really delicious. And then Shoshanna goes, this duck tastes, or she says something like, I hate duck.
She's like, I don't like duck.
And then Elijah goes, yeah, because duck fucking sucks. Who the fuck eats duck?
He's like, nobody does. But before Shoshanna chimes in, he's like, pal, do your Daffy Duck impersonation.
Oh, yeah.
And he ends up doing a Donald Duck impersonation that's super weird.
Yeah, it's not a good Daffy or Donald Duck.
It's kind of a Donald Duck sound, but the line that he says makes no sense.
Yeah.
At all. And then Marnie, it goes, that's Donald Duck, not Daffy Duck. And they're like, oh, you knew what we're talking about. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then like Shoshana does her whole like, I don't like duck.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just ripping. I mean, I was like,
I felt kind of bad for Marnie at this point, but also like, you can't schedule a weekend perfectly out like that.
No, but Elijah, if she's making you dinner like this, you can't be ripping. Like, you guys aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah. That's, yeah. I was not a fan of him in that one.
So this is when everybody's finished eating, and then they're getting ready to do their choreography dance thing. Mm-hmm. And Marnie's like, I don't feel like doing this. And they're like, come on, it's a 4-person dance. We need you. And she's like, ugh, fine. Are they recording this? Like on video?
No, because
I thought that they were for some reason.
Well, here's the thing that I thought was interesting. The choreography of this dance is actually pretty well done. It's like interesting. Like it's shot well. They're doing a lot of moves. It's like what you saw in the beginning where it was like kind of not in sync. They're in sync now, and they do this thing. But they do end it as if they're coming towards camera. Like where they're facing isn't facing anyone that would be able to see it.
Yeah.
Because the guys are on the countertops in the back doing leg kicks, not looking at each other. Pal's like facing the stove, banging on pots. And then the girls are like facing the patio. And they land towards us, which is camera. But when they cut to it, there's like no one there. They just perform this to no one. Like there's no one that saw what they did.
See, this is where I thought it was going. I thought that they were recording, like video recording it. And I thought that the gay guys were going to upload it onto YouTube or something. Be like, look at these 4 dorks dancing like idiots or something.
You thought this was going to be Marnie's video 2.0?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be. But if they weren't recording it, this is the most pointless and stupid thing ever.
No, they wouldn't record it and do that because the one guy's a choreographer. So if he's the one that choreographed it, he wouldn't like make fun of his own choreography.
That's true.
But yet everyone seems to be having fun as into it. Like this is not a malicious act by anyone.
Yeah. So they finish the dance and everyone's laughing and it's great. And then Marnie's like, all right, let's do it again. But this time, people were a little off. People were slipping. Like, we need to make sure we tighten this up and make sure it's good. And Hannah's like, why do we need to do it again? Like, we just did it. It's fine. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. And Marnie's like, but why wouldn't we want to get as close to perfect as possible? And Hannah's like, well, we were just having fun. Like, this isn't for anybody. We're not auditioning for Broadway. Then all the gay people laugh. And then Marnie's like, well, if you can get as close to perfect as possible, that would be great. Kind of like how I had this perfect weekend planned and then you fucked it up by inviting all of these people here. And then it's like gloves off time, baby.
And before we get into like all the stuff that gets said here, Marnie didn't want to do this dance right away.
No, she didn't.
And now she wants to do it again to get it perfect, which is interesting.
She initially criticizes Hannah's dancing.
Yeah.
Where she's like, Hannah, you fucked it up.
Yeah.
And we're going to need you to get better. And that's when Hannah's like, what the fuck?
And I'll defend, and I don't think I ever really defend Marnie, but I will defend Marnie on this regard of if you are taking a bus ride to the Hamptons, which is, it's a bus ride, you know? It's a ride
from New York City. It's about like 2-3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're taking this and you know Marnie, and you are coming because Marnie told you why we're having this weekend, if she has something planned, then you do what she has planned because that's why you're coming. It's not like you guys all decided to go to the beach and then she said, hey, why don't we do this? I have a plan to do this. Like, you know what the plan is on the trip up. She didn't like spring this on them.
I feel like she kind of did, like, because that's why they were all confused at the beach.
Were they confused?
That's what I was feeling. I feel like she kind of sprung like, okay, this is our perfect weekend, and none of them were privy to that knowledge beforehand.
Okay.
That's how I was feeling about it.
Yeah, I would have to go back and check. I thought like they kind of knew that this talk was something that was going to happen, and they didn't want it. I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I can't be definitive on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like, we also don't see the before of them being like, hey, we're going to have this like healing weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's
just like,
I'll say this in Marnie's defense, if the plan was to have a healing weekend that she was planning, then you can't be upset if she's like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
and in Hannah's defense, if she sprung it on them while they're there, then you can't expect to be like, no, we fucking just thought we were hanging out at a beach house.
Exactly.
Didn't know that didn't know this was therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is when the insults just start flying. And my hands got cramped trying to write down all of these fucking zingers that each of them were throwing at each other. So,
so
Marnie says the thing about Hannah's dance moves and how she ruined the weekend because it could have been perfect, but Hannah invited all of the gay guys. And then all the gay guys are looking like, uh-oh, it's time for us to exit stage left.
I love that. They had just you just see them in the background just filtering out of the room. Like, and I thought they were leaving the house. Like, I didn't think I thought like they were out. Like,
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But come to find out later they stayed.
Yeah.
But so I don't know what's the next insult.
Well, Shoshanna ends up starting a fire. Like,
Shoshanna went fucking nuclear on everyone. So I think I have it written down here. Marnie starts criticizing Hannah's dance moves and brings up that she's mad that the gay guys stayed for dinner. Then I have the next thing is Shoshanna calls Hannah a narcissist.
Well, what happens is Marnie's like, I just want us to be honest. And Hannah's like, I don't want to. And it's the weirdest shot of Shoshanna sitting there on the couch with the wine glass, like real housewife deviousness. And she's like, why not? Being honest is fun. And she has this look in her eye that is frightening.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
It was like she is like ready to go. And then she calls Hannah a narcissist. Then later she's like, the duck tasted like a used condom to Marnie. Like, she's fiery everywhere.
She basically throat slashes all of the girls.
Yeah, she says they all treat her. They talk about her like she's not there and treat her like she's a cab driver. Which, if you've ever been in New York and like you pile into a cab after like a party, like you will say anything in the back of a cab. And cab driver, like Ubers and Lyfts were a whole different thing, but like cabs, you never had to worry about a cab driver joining your conversation.
Absolutely.
And you would just get in a cab with your friends and just have full-on conversations about whatever.
That was such a weird transition for when I moved out to LA, because even Ubers and Lyfts in New York, nobody talks to you.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like the main thing. Like, nobody ever talks to you. And then I moved out here and all the fucking Uber drivers are like, so how's your day? What are you up to?
Yeah.
Where are you going? It's just like, shut the fuck up.
Well, that's why HBO had a show in the 90s called Taxi Cab Confessions, which is like an R to X rated like show, because like people would say anything in the back of a cab.
Yeah,
like
dude.
cab drivers heard so much stuff.
So Shoshana starts ripping everybody a new asshole. She says that Hannah's a narcissist. Then Jessa starts to try to like ease up everybody. She's like, hey, let's fucking like calm down. Let's take a breath and let's talk about this. And then Shoshana's like, what the fuck? You went to rehab for like 5 fucking days. Why do we have to listen to your bullshit? Like you're an expert in this now.
Your AA bullshit, which was so weird. Jessa, who was fighting rehab, is like, hey, I learned some exercises in rehab that should help. And I'm like,
yeah,
wait, what? I saw those. We saw the episodes where you were in rehab. You didn't give a fuck. You wanted to leave.
You hated everything.
Now you're all like, oh, yeah, I'm enlightened. I'm like, are you in rehab again now that we're not seeing? Like, what meetings are you talking about? The ones where you just ripped everyone in the circle? All of a sudden, she's trying to take the high road?
I know, dude.
And she's like trying to defend Shoshana and like, which is fine. Like, she calls Shoshana smart because she saw her read a newspaper on her phone.
Yeah, she read a newspaper on her phone once. And because Marnie says that, like, oh, being around Shoshana isn't the most mentally stimulating.
No, I think Hannah says that to her, right?
Oh, okay. So, dude, I don't know. It was hard to keep track of all of these.
Because, I mean, that road trip when he went to pick up Jessa, Shoshana was a mess.
Oh, yeah. And Shoshana calls Hannah mentally ill. And they're just throwing haymakers at each other. I can't remember. You'll just have to go back and watch this episode because I couldn't keep up with all of the like mean, brutal truths that they were saying at each other. And it pretty much ends with all of them being like, you know what, fuck you, I hate all of you. And then they each go into like their separate rooms.
Yeah, well, Marnie criticizes her and she's like, Hannah's like, Marnie, you just have to lower your expectations. And then Marnie says, I can't lower my expectations any lower.
Yeah.
And then Hannah ends up being, that's the difference between me and you. I don't expect anything from you. Yeah. Like she doesn't expect anything from her friends, which is a lie.
Oh yeah, that's a 100%
End of season
lie.
2, she calls up everyone and complains. She calls up and complains that no one's taking care of her when she's sick. She expects a lot from her friends.
Yeah, then she says something like, I'm going to go home to my boyfriend who expects nothing of me and just appreciates me and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, that's when they all kind of like dissipate and go to their separate places. And then we go to a scene with Elijah and Pal.
Yeah.
And Elijah is confronting Pal about the condescension like Hannah had suggested. And he's like, hey, I just feel like you're kind of mean to me and you don't really respect me. And I would like it if you would, treat me with a bit more respect. And then Pal's like, where's this coming from? Like, I treat you with respect. And then Elijah's like, well, Hannah told me that she noticed that you're kind of rude to me. And then Pal goes, Hannah told you that? Hannah's the fucking weirdest, most insecure, unstable person I know.
He calls her like most ridiculous person that he's ever met. Yeah.
And then Elijah's like, you know what? You're right. Why am I taking advice from Hannah? That makes no sense. And then he's like, well, I just want to make sure that like we're on the same page because, I love you. And then Pal's like, oh no. And then Pal is basically like, oh my God, that's so nice of you to say. And I don't know if this is going to be a thing because I don't want to lead you on. And this might not be what we want and blah, blah, blah. And then Elijah's
he basically I don't think you think this is what it is. I think you think this is something that it's more than it is.
That it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Elijah's like, oh, sorry. I didn't mean it. Never mind. Fuck. Shut up. And then he just starts kissing him. And Pal's still trying to talk, which is fucking a staple of the show, trying to talk while sexual stuff is happening.
I know that's a staple. At this point, you really he just dropped an L-bomb and Pal's like, this is just a fling. And he's like, are you sure you're going to be okay with this? Because I think Pal would just cut it off because he don't give a fuck. Yeah,
I mean, Elijah's trying to
he's trying to.
He doesn't want to lose him.
Yeah, he's trying to put that love word back in the bottle.
Yeah,
he's trying to put that toothpaste back in the tube, and it's not cool.
Yeah,
it's out there now. It's out there. Like you can't just say that and then be like, no, it's cool.
Yeah, Pal starts to be like, I don't know, maybe this isn't a thing, and then Elijah just starts blowing him.
Yeah, Well, we
And,
don't see, for girls, we don't see it. He just like
that's
implied that he goes down. So you have to clarify that for the HBO audience.
All right. There's there's the hardcore pornography.
That's the last 10 minutes of the episode.
It's just Elijah sucking Pal's dick. How out of left field would that be?
And the credits just roll over it.
Yeah. So while that's happening, that's where we get to this scene where Gerald says to Paul, like, I just don't think you're that talented. And then Paul's like, what are you talking about? I got a master's in dance or whatever. I have a BFA. And like, that's just bad.
Yeah, when that happened, I'm like, wait, what? I was like, I thought that was a setup for
me too.
For the Jessa
I thought that
thing. I thought that was going to be a setup for him to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get back at you, Gerald, by sleeping with Jessa. Like, I thought that was what that was set up for.
I thought what was going to happen was they were going to walk in on Elijah blowing Pal, and there was going to be some kind of weirdness there.
True, because it's also shot where we don't see which room Pal and Elijah are in, but then when we see Gerald and Paul talking, it's shot through a door.
Yeah.
It's shot through like the window of a door onto the patio. So it could be shot from the room that Elijah and Pal are in. So you're like, oh, are they going to stop and see this happening? But then I'm like, if they see it happening, it's not like, oh, what? Because they already know they're a couple. So I was like, what is that reaction? And then that doesn't happen. Nothing happens from it. It was just the weirdest, like, little segment of a scene.
Yeah. Again, this is my theory. It's probably one of those things where it's like, we need this episode to be 27 minutes and we're at 26:40. And we throw in a quick 20-second.
And we cut out all the Gerald and Paul stuff, but we can just keep this little sliver. But HBO, you don't even have to cut the time. None of the episodes are the same thing, so it's no reason. You could just cut that scene out, and nothing would change.
Yeah,
I think someone back thought it was a fun joke of him calling. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
we've talked more about Paul and Gerald than the whole episode cared.
Well, it's just like why would you even include it? I didn't even know that Gerald and Paul were a couple.
I don't know if they are. It didn't even imply that they were.
Yeah, I don't know who they are.
That was my brain trying to rationalize how he's going to hook up with Jessa because of the scene in the pool.
Okay, yeah, because when you said like, oh, they're a couple, I was like, are they? I didn't catch on.
My brain was like, oh, they must be a couple. He got upset. He's going to sleep with Jessa because Jessa flirted in the pool. That's when Jessa's going to wake up. We're going to see that Paul did it. And it will mean nothing because they won't come back to the Hamptons or Norfolk. But yeah.
So that is like the next thing that we see is Jessa waking up. And that's when we're like, uh-oh, who's she waking up next to? She's waking up next to nobody. We see her wake up. She walks to the kitchen. It's a mess. We see Shoshanna wake up next.
The guys are on the couch.
The guys are on the couch and they're all naked. Mm-hmm. And like just no one could possibly sleep in the positions that they're in.
Yeah, it's so uncomfortable looking.
It looks so uncomfortable. Like their limbs would be like dead asleep. Yeah. I don't know. Shoshanna wakes up and then I was about to say Lena Dunham. Hannah wakes up and they all start going to the kitchen and they all just start cleaning up in silence and, you know, putting the place back together because they know that this isn't their place and they got to clean it up basically. And then Marnie shows up and she looks at all the girls cleaning up and she's like, all the girls. And then she starts helping.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the most realistic thing is that next morning cleanup of a party.
Of a rager.
Yeah.
And then it's them sitting waiting for the bus, and then Hannah starts to do the choreography from the night before, and then they all start to join in. They're all dancing, waiting for the bus, and that's the episode.
Yeah, this one was like, oh, they're still gonna be friends together.
Yeah, it's like whatever.
It was fine. I mean, I was fine. I was like, okay, yeah, because I was wondering when Shoshanna was trying to burn it all down.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't even know why I hang out with you losers. I was like, because the show has done that before. Like season 1, Marnie moves out and they don't even want to hang out with each other. Like, so I was like, they might just be burning it down again. And the next couple episodes, we just see the girls doing their own thing. Because this is like one of the few episodes where we get them all together.
Yeah.
And Shoshanna disappears through this episode. She's like in the beginning, she fights for the bed. They're like, Jess and her are like wrestling over which room they're going to get. Which is like silly, whatever.
I will say that during Shoshanna's rant about every one of the girls, that was the most lucid I feel like she's ever been in this show, because usually she's like spacey and talking about stuff that doesn't matter and saying like all the time. But she did not seem ditzy, like normal Shoshana, like kind of ditzy, off kilter, weird. During that teardown of all of them, that was the most, like, she was zoned in, and she's like, I'm going to cut all of you down so far. And it was vicious.
I think Jessa's wedding, when she's talking to Ray and she's talking about the girls and how ridiculous the whole situation was, I thought that was one of the first moments where she has that like open realization. Then like when Marnie moves in, she's like, you stay here, like stay, I don't want Jessa coming back, you know. And then like somehow her opinion on Jessa turned around conveniently for the storyline. But she's been awful. Like a lot of the season, the stuff she says is like some of the most hurtful things.
Shoshana is like not holding back anymore. She is just fucking brutal.
And I don't get why they are friends with her or why she would be friends with them. Like that's the one friend. I mean, the Jessa relationship, I guess, like
well, they're cousins.
Hannah and Jessa like seem to be really good friends. Marnie and Hannah are friends from like college, so they have that connection. Jessa and Marnie aren't really friends, but they're friends through that connection between Hannah. And that they made out once, which they don't ever bring up.
Nope.
and Shoshana's just there because she's Jessa's cousin. And just and it seemed like they didn't even want to hang out. It seems like Jessa wouldn't even hang out with Shoshana usually.
I don't know. I would love to see that family tree, because it seemed like Shoshana didn't care that like Jessa's dad disappeared and he keeps getting abandoned. Like, wouldn't that be her uncle or something? Or
and like
her
and we don't know
dad.
how big the family is. Like, if they have like a bunch of cousins and stuff, but whatever.
I have no idea how that like fits in. But Shoshana this season is like, because she used to say like slightly rude comments, but I took it as like she's just being naive and she's like doesn't realize that what she's saying is hurtful. But now she's just like, wow, you're all a bunch of fucking losers.
The breaking point was going to pick up Jessa from rehab. The stuff she said in that was awful. Then Hannah's birthday party. Oh, can you believe you guys are 4 years out of college and done nothing? Done so little with your lives.
I remember on that episode I said like, I don't know how you can say that without intentionally trying to hurt people's feelings. So like the naivete, however you pronounce that word, that's gone. I feel like now she's just a mean person.
And she has an age gap between them too. Like she's got like
I think it's like
year.
It's like 3 or 4 years between them.
I think she's supposed to be 23, which is kind of old.
Well, Hannah's 25.
Yeah. But 23 seems old for undergrad if she's still undergrad.
I thought that she was 21.
For some reason, I felt like she was 23. But whatever, it doesn't matter. What I did want to say is I'm interested to see if we see Shoshana with her boyfriend, that dumb guy, again. I'm interested to see like where Marnie and Ray are, because now she feels bad about fucking old man Ray or whatever. Well, I don't think she feels bad about it. She kind of walked away as a smirk. She didn't want to give away that she was.
I feel like she was kind of shamed about it. You know what I mean?
Shamed about it in the way that she doesn't want anyone to ever find out about it. But
like, I'd fucking advertise this.
But I think she really does she likes Ray. But somehow
I
don't know how she's gonna end up with Adam. But,
with Adam? So any final thoughts on this episode?
Going into it, I expected it to be a dumpster fire, and it wasn't. It's a pretty solid episode. I mean, some interesting stuff happens. We get one of our favorite characters making a cameo. He does awful stuff throughout. We
also get one of our favorite characters turning heel. Very harsh. very hard.
Yeah, no, it was solid.
Yeah, I was
episode.
expecting worse.
Yeah.
Because my friend was like, "Can't wait for you to fucking watch this one."
Yeah.
And maybe it may be because I was expecting worse that I didn't think it was that bad, but
I think
it was. I feel like it was good.
I think your friend probably maybe it was like the Joe's fashion corner part of like her just not wearing a bikini the whole episode, but like I'm over.
Yeah, there weren't.
I'm well past like seeing Lena Dunham naked. I just assumed that we're going to see her naked every episode. Like what? Like that's not.
Yeah,
shocking.
There weren't too many egregious Joe's Fashion Corner violations, except for that stupid hat in the beginning, and then just that she's wearing the. I mean, the bikini wasn't the problem.
Yeah. No,
Like
it's
the
like
bikini's fine.
like you're going to a supermarket and everyone's making comments like, "Hey, put on some shoes at least." Or a t-shirt on top. You don't even have to have a t-shirt. You just need shoes.
You just need a long t-shirt, you know?
You don't even. I mean, she could probably walk in there if she just had shoes.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the episode, everybody. Stay tuned next week for season 3, episode 8, overall episode 28. This one is titled Incidentals. So, I'm going to say my quote that I say after reading the title of every one of these episodes. Who knows what that means?
Yeah, that's like when you get a hotel room or something, right? Incidentals.
I don't know.
And you put your
gonna
credit
be
card down for the incidentals.
This is going to be like an Elijah thing, like not knowing what inertia means. I don't know what incidentals could possibly mean.
I think that's what incidentals mean.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. Listen to that episode, enjoy your life, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
I think the duck turned out fucking awesome.
So good, Marnie.
I love it.
No, don't. I don't really like duck.
Nobody likes duck.